Hi, guys. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. Today is another live session of our Heat Press for Profit podcast. And while everybody is joining or tuning in live, make sure you put in the comments who you are, where you're tuning in from, and of course, your business name. That way we can give you a shout out. Now, as you see, I've got a reoccurring guest with us today, Molly Harmon from STAHLS UK. And you guys, we are still staying on the conversation of marketing. I feel like we've been talking about marketing several times now, but you know what? It's actually a great conversation to have, especially as things are continuously changing. So today's topic is how to market without a marketing team. Now, if you are tuning in and listening to this replay on YouTube or Facebook, then you can still post comments down below and we can easily come in and answer those questions. But if you're tuning in and listening wherever you stream podcasts, thanks so much for listening to the Heat Press for Profit podcast. So, Molly, let's get started with today's conversation because I know there is a lot to go over, and we're only going to dive into some of it as towards the end of this. We are going to post a link that is going to give you access to about an hour and 20 long conversation that Molly has done. So you guys can go check that out as well, but at least this will give you some high level tips and, we're just all about resources today. So Molly, thank you for staying late at work and being our guest again.
Thank you for having me back. I absolutely love coming on and doing these with you. And I feel like marketing and content and video is just, I think it's our topic. It always seems to be the thing that we gravitate towards talking about. And I know that, we both do it for work, for STAHLS, but I just love the topic. I think it's so relevant. It helps so many people and it's fun. Marketing's fun.
I know we do always tend to talk about marketing, but it's the great thing is I think we're always trying to find ways to be innovative. It's not so much what you need to do. It's more about what you can do to help your business versus you've got to make the change kind of thing. So with today's conversation, it's really all about understanding the importance of marketing, but really diving into the fact that you don't have to go out and think, oh my gosh, I've got to grow my staff, or I'm going to have to work extra hours to make sure that, I can achieve what I want to achieve. It's about being organized and staying structured and really kind of making a plan. So what are some of the first steps that you want to kind of share with everyone, just to feel comfortable about either being a solopreneur or just having a small staff?
Yeah, I think this topic in particular was, so this talk originally came from our Printwear and Promotion live show that we did back in February. It's the UK's biggest and main trade show that we do. And this is a talk that I did there, a presentation that I gave. And it did so well. Like, it was completely sold out and everybody was absolutely loving it. And all of our followers afterwards were like, are we going to get to see this talk again? And normally we record them, but we were like, oh, we want to do it live so we can interact with you. So we reran it again 3 or 4 weeks ago and again had the exact same response. But I'm just so glad that it's up now for people to look back on, like you say, as many times as they need to, because it's got such good content in it. But I would say to start with, so the whole focus around this presentation for people was how to market with no marketing department, right? So I think there's a common misconception when it comes to marketing your business that you need to have a marketing person, or you need to, take a whole extra day out of your week to market your business successfully. Like, no, you do not have to do this. This is not how it has to be. I think a lot of people as well think that it has to be like a reel a day, 10 stories a day. They need to be immediately confident in front of the camera. They suddenly need to be outputting really high quality videos. Like, no, it just needs to be you posting consistently, whether that be a post a day, a reel a day, you talking to your followers once on a story every other day. Like, it's just spacing out like when you're going to be posting. And during this talk, I talk about those things. So I give people suggestions of what to post, you know, and how to incorporate that into your day. So whether that's you prop up a camera on a tripod while you're pressing some shirts, or like in your day-to-day process, and edit that into some sort of video. That way you're not taking a whole hour out of your day to film a video. You're just filming what you're already doing and utilizing and like doubling down on that time that you've got. Packing up orders, things like that, you can film and take pictures of doing that. There's a whole list in that original talk of ideas that people can get started with. And then we go on to talk about, you know, how to incorporate that into your week without it becoming a massive drain or like a massive task for you. So I think it's like you can do it all within an extra hour or two a week. Like, I think there's no way of marketing your business without putting any extra time into it. Like, you're going to need to give something if you want the returns. Videos aren't going to make themselves,
right.
But you don't need to take like a whole day out of your weekends to do this. You can tag on an hour to your Friday, like skip a lunch break maybe and get it done then. Like, if you want it bad enough, you'll find the time to do it, but it's just about being efficient so that you don't have to spend all of your time like focusing on that, because you know you have a business to run, especially if you're running it on your own. You have to wear all the hats, and marketing, even though it's the most fun, will probably drop to the bottom of the list in terms of importance for a lot of startups, especially.
When it comes to marketing as a whole, what do you really feel, or what would you say falls under the marketing umbrella? Because marketing to me is massive, right? There's so many different avenues, there's different channels, there's different touches, there's different ways to market. What all falls under I need to market umbrella?
So I think that's such a good question, because you're right. It does cover so much of what people consider to be marketing. I think to start with, the easy place to start is social media, like the Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Like, they are the key things, especially if you're new to the industry and you're starting a business. They're probably the platforms that are going to get you the most exposure and allow you to sort of hit that market and get out there to new customers. It's an easy way to collaborate with people if you want to share customer reviews, pictures, that kind of thing. So I would say that's probably the thing that you put the most time into, but definitely just choose one platform to start with and then branch out. So in this marketing talk that I did, I talk about how to repurpose content and how to make sure that a video works on Instagram as well as TikTok, or how to turn your Instagram stories into a reel, for example, so that, again, you're doubling down on that content that you've already made. But I do think that just posting the same video to Instagram and TikTok for the sake of it doesn't always work, because they are different platforms and they do have different types of content. The audience expects different things. And it does come down to sort of the personality you give yourself, but at the same time, it's just being aware of that. So I would definitely say social media to start with, and we do talk about that more in depth in the presentation. Secondly, I would say email marketing is a really important one. And I always joke, this is Andy's favorite topic, because whenever we talk about anything to do with socials, he's always like, get the email, get the customer data. Because if your socials disappear tomorrow, if something happens, you get hacked, it gets shut down, you need the customer emails to be like, I'm setting up a new Instagram, you can still buy from my website. Like, if you build your business solely on Instagram, that's fantastic, but you need that customer data. Otherwise, you are literally running off of a platform that you don't own. So you need to make sure you're getting all of that information. And there are so many great like platforms out there that allow you to get started with MailChimp for free. So like MailChimp, for example, like I just said, is a great one. And there's others out there that you can get started with. I think it's up to like 1,000 contacts for free before you then have to start paying for plans. So that's a decent amount of, like, if you get 1,000 customers on your email list of your new business, then, you know, well done you, because that's a good number. And then after that, I would lead on to website. We don't dive into website as much in this presentation, but again, with the email sign up thing, that's something you would tend to have on your page, like a sign up for our newsletter. It's where you can host your products. But I feel like social media marketing and email versus website are two very different sides of marketing.
Sure.
it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of exposure and getting new customers, I would definitely lead with the whole social media thing to start with.
I think one of the biggest things that you just said was making sure you have multiple different platforms or sources to where your customer information lies. I know that Instagram has gone down to where you couldn't post, couldn't access anything, it wouldn't refresh. I'm going to say multiple times over the last couple of years. And if you are relying on your business and social media is a stream of income for you, and you can't contact your customers that day because you don't have their information, that's a day's lost. Now, for some, they might go, oh, I can take this time and work on other things. But at the same time, you want to be able to communicate. You want to be able to get whatever you need. Do fun promos. Instagram goes down. Guess what? Head over to the website and get 15% off, or, whatever your positioning may be. But making sure that you can text marketing, email marketing, even if it's one of those things where you are also working on Facebook or TikTok because Instagram is down. I mean, those are all different platforms and ways to communicate with customers. And you might have different clientele that are following you on Instagram versus Facebook versus maybe subscribe to email marketing or text. So it's just one thing to consider, is that a lot of people don't do, I want contact from this company that I love on all channels. They might just prefer one or the other. So just keep that in mind as you're like, no, I only do Instagram, or no, I only do emails and Facebook groups. What happens if is a question I always like to, just having your back pocket safety. Put those people in a treasure box,
Yeah, I think you're so right. And it's so easy as well to get caught up in the excitement of growing a social media. Like, it is a fun thing to do. And if it's your business and you see it start to gain followers and people start to interact with you, it's so easy to get caught up in that and just forget about like the actual business side of it. And I mean, I've been guilty of it before when talking about marketing, and, Andy will be like, don't forget about the CRM. And I'm like, oh yeah, we must talk about that. Like, I do it. Like, I just love the whole like growth side of it and being creative and communicating with people. But it is so important to get those contacts in your email list before anything. Nothing should happen, but just in case, you never want to be caught short.
When it comes to the difficulties of trying to figure out where to get started, it's overwhelming. I know one thing that you and I have talked about on this platform and in podcasts is just the overwhelming sense of one, perfectionism, two, there's all these things that I could be doing. How do I figure out what is going to suit me best? And if you are solo or you're a team of 2 or 3 people, what suggestions do you have to help kind of get out of those difficulties of making those decisions, or really just making a plan for yourself? Like, okay, we're going to start small. That way this can be achievable and obtained, versus setting, this massive, we're going to do emails, we're going to do text, we're going to do Instagram.
Well, that's what you've just said there is literally the outline of the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of the talk that I brought in. So the step 1 was basically just taking an hour out of your week to create some content, to plan some content, because one of my biggest things when it comes to starting out and not being overwhelmed with it, like you said, is not all about what you're filming or what you're taking photos of, but it's also about planning it as well. Because I've been in situations before here in the Innovation Center where I've been like, right, we need to shoot this video, come down, set it all up and go, haven't actually planned what I'm going to do. How do I want this to look at the end of it? And I think that's such an important first step. And it doesn't even have to all be like actual content creation, right? So one of the things I talk about in the presentation is maximizing the assets and the graphics that all of our brands and distributors have. So, I mean, obviously, some of your main distributors in America will be different to the ones we have in the UK, but our biggest UK distributor is a company called Rallowise, and they stock, you know, all of your favorite All We Do Is, Bella Canvas, like all of those brands. And all of those brands have free assets for you to use, right? So they all have images and videos of their products. They're all high quality, they're all professionally taken images. So you don't have to spend ages figuring out how to take a flat lay of your product. You can take their image and their free assets they're giving you, load them into a website like Canva, which we all know and love. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to blag that you don't use Canva, we all use Canva. We all love Canva. Load yourself and get Canva because it's just brilliant. We use it here. It's fantastic. It's like something really ridiculous, like £100 a year for a premium subscription. Like that's a coffee a month. Like if you can give up a Starbucks every week, you can pay for Canva, like it's fine. There's a free version as well, but I mean, like you get obviously additional things with the paid version. And you can chuck your designs into that, overlay them onto the flat lays and post that to socials. Like that's a post right there that you've made of a product that you didn't even have to leave your computer for, or your phone even. So I think A, planning, but B, making the most of the free assets and just ensuring that you can get everything you can out of that before you then go, right, I need to spend half a day shooting images of all of these things I've printed. Like, no, start small. Don't think, oh, this is cheating. Like we all do it. Just make sure that you're, properly planning and making the most of everything that's available to you, especially when you're starting out.
I would love to hear from some of our listeners about maybe any type of marketing plans that you do. If you're solo, do you have a team? Does your team have a plan? When I always like to talk about my mind, and I think sometimes it's because, you know, there might be somebody else out there like me that you hear it and you're like, oh, that's so relatable. I get it. I understand. And one thing that I have noticed when planning content, because I'm on the marketing side, but I'm also in many other places, right? So I will be scrolling through my phone at 9 o'clock at night and then get this idea because I've seen something else. And immediately my mind can go, this is exactly how it needs to be laid out. Boom, and done. And then I think, great, I need to write this down. That way, when my planning time comes, I can know exactly how to execute this. And sometimes I don't do that and I forget. And then I go to my recording or my planning or my creation time and
it's completely gone.
Yeah, I've lost 20 minutes of that hour or hour and a half or whatever I've planned simply because I feel stuck and I don't know what to do. So I think one thing that is great for those that can easily feel overwhelmed, or you look at every little thing as a task. What are you doing? How to create it, exporting it, loading it, scheduling it, right? I look at that as 5 different things versus one task of one post. So if you do, set a small number. I need to create 10 flat lays. And then that way, you know, you can go to your partner site, export those images, put a logo on there, and then boom, it took you 15, 20 minutes versus an hour just to figure out what it was you were doing that day. And, you know, not everybody obviously has the kind of brain that I do, but I know the smaller I can make the task list, because I view everything as an individual task, then easier and the quicker it is for me to get that done and maximize that hour versus getting, you know, entangled of, oh my God, I only have an hour to do all of this, when it's a very quick and easy task. Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's an easy task to execute. It's just sometimes we have mental hurdles on, what am I doing? Write it down, make a note of it. And the more information that you can give yourself for whatever reel or whatever picture or whatever theme promo, then the better you'll set yourself up in the long run.
I think that as well, it's very easy for people when they start out to think that they need to be creating all of this new content and stuff that's never been seen before. And because to you want your brand to appear as the bet you want the content you're putting out to be the best, right? Like you don't want to put it out and think, oh, I don't really love that. Like it's your brand, you have pride in it, you should. But I think there are some simple posts that you should be getting out there, like that if you don't tell people about, they're not going to know, right? So in the list of examples I gave people in that conversation, one of the things I said was like, do you have new products added to your range? Tell people you have them. Have you added a particular design? Talk about it. Tell them. Have you got a best-selling product you haven't mentioned in a while? Talk about that. Have you got a sale on? Tell people what the discount is. Like all of these basic things that to you is just the everyday running of your business are things that people aren't going to know unless you tell them. And we have a few customers over here that do this really, really well. They jump on their socials every day and talk about the products that they're selling, the orders they're fulfilling. And, you don't have to do it every day, even like once every other week or once a month to be like, oh, look what's new, or this is the bestseller, or, something like that. But we have a few people that do really, really great jobs with that. And their sales only increase because someone that might not necessarily buy that garment normally sees it on the Instagram for someone else and goes, oh yeah, I quite like those jackets. I'll have some of those for my business as well. And it snowballs from there. Like it doesn't always have to be new and amazing content and ideas. And I think that's really important to remember when you're starting out, because it can be so easy to sort of be really self-critical in comparing yourself to what every other brand and apparel decorator is doing. But yeah, tell people about the things you want to sell basically. But there's a fine line between telling people and like being salesy and being social on socials, right? So you need to find that balance. But like I said, once every other week or once a month is more than acceptable to talk about your products. Like they follow you for what you're making and what you're printing, right?
If somebody is looking at, maybe they've, here we are almost in July of 2024. So we're definitely past the first quarter of 2024. So let's talk 2025. That's crazy that it's even.
This is the first 2025 conversation that I've had on camera. So let's do it.
Okay. So I like to try to think in as forward as I can without getting overwhelmed or too excited. Life can change and pivot at a moment, right? So let's say somebody is knowing that for 2025, they are really wanting to make sure that they do a better job at marketing. Mm-hmm. When it comes to all of the things that are available out there, from the text, from the email, all the social campaigns, even LinkedIn, which has become huge. You can stream to LinkedIn. I think I saw something maybe about webinars, maybe not, but LinkedIn is becoming more and more of a social platform, even though it is geared towards business. But guess what? A lot of times you might be decorating for businesses. So why are you not on LinkedIn talking about your business, sharing your products? Anyway, with everything that is out there, do you think somebody needs to do socials, text, emails, group posts every single day, every single week?
I don't think so. No, I think the most important part is being consistent with whatever channels you choose to post on. I think the group thing that you've just mentioned is really important. I know that you guys have Heat Press for Profit, which we're all a part of and is a fantastic face group for decorators. But I wouldn't necessarily say you have to post every day in there. I think if you have something that you're particularly proud of and want to show, or like I said, you've got a new product or an offer or a bestseller, something like that, then that's kind of relevant for those groups. Or if you get like a really good customer review on a big order you've done or something like that is going to boost potential sales for you. But don't be too OTT with it, because you don't want to hit the point where someone like knows you're posting for the sake of posting, and then every day it's like, oh, here it is again. Like you want people to see like your brand name come up and be like, this is going to be a valuable post that I need to pay attention to, right? Same with the stuff you're putting out on your own social media. I do think it's easier now to run more than one social platform at the same time. So you mentioned obviously like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, there's loads. But I think because of the way content is changing now, and because there's so much more video out there and the way that people repurpose, I think it's such it's so much more powerful now to utilize all of those platforms. But I still stick with my original statement of don't overwhelm yourself and do all of them at the same time. Stick with one, build a connection with your followers, build a platform for yourself, and then branch out over to the other ones. You might start up an Instagram and realize that it doesn't do very well. Try Facebook and all of your customers are on Facebook. That might be where your target market sits, right? Like, just because one platform doesn't work doesn't mean that's bad.
Absolutely.
It might just take a little while to figure out where your customers are at, because, you know, say your target market is, I don't know, 25 to 40-year-olds, that's like an in-between of like which platform people are going to prefer to use, right? So you've got to figure out where they're sitting and how they prefer to engage with you, really.
That's so Danielle's behind the scenes today, and
I knew Danielle was going to say this. This is like my favorite statement ever.
I know. I was like, oh yeah, that's straight on. She said, make sure you're on the social channels that your audience, current and potential customers, are on. And guess what, guys? If you don't know, ask, and it's okay to ask. Put it in an email, put it in a question. If you're chatting with them, just ask them, hey, are you more on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook? We're trying to grow, our platform. And I will tell you, people enjoy when people are genuine. And if you are genuinely trying to understand, how to grow your business and grow it for the better, people will honestly answer that question, and they might even tell you why, which is a whole other key to opening a box of what type of content to produce. So, you know what, if somebody's on Facebook and they don't really do Instagram, then you know that's the platform that you really need to stay on, especially if you're just genuinely asking people to see where they go to first. At the end of the day, if you're wanting to kind of pivot your audience or grow to different demographics, and of course, that's a way to start trying out different platforms or other platforms, but keep it consistent.
Continuous technically is right.
Oh my gosh, it's Friday, and that consistent just like ran out.
You've done well, Kelly. We're 27 minutes in, and that's the first word flip, so that's good.
Oh my gosh, yeah, just keep it consistent on your main platform and learn to grow on others. And going back to the 2025 planning, if one of your goals is to grow, start those conversations now, or start those questions now. That way you can somewhat build a plan, start to understand, and then come that time, you're easily flowing into it versus trying to make a plan and adapt in January or whenever you do the adjustments.
I'll say on that side of things as well, because I remember at the end of 2023 coming into this year, which seems like yesterday, but was like nearly 7 months ago. It's scary. We sat down with, I think it was Ben Carroll from Velflex, or I think it was him. And we spoke about how to look at like reviewing your business from the last 12 months and how to improve it for the following year, right? I feel like this is something that people should do, not just with their business, but with their marketing strategy. And we're at a perfect point in 2024 now where, you're halfway through the year, just over. You could easily say to yourself, right, I'm going to post, say you haven't been that consistent this year, you've wanted to be, but things have gotten in the way. You still have 5 or 6 months to be consistent. Watch the marketing talk on the STAHLS UK YouTube channel, take the action points. There's a free marketing planner on there as well, which I highly recommend you all download. It's got weeks and weeks and weeks of scheduling on there. Just stick to that for the next 6 months. And then at Christmas, you can take half a day or a day and review, how you found the last 6 months, and then implement change for 2025. Like, you don't have to sit there right now and sort of navigate which platform you think is right. You could be consistent with the top 2 or 3 you think are going to work for you over the next 6 months, and then review it at the end of the year. I do think that there's a lot of value in the 3 stages of the marketing talk that I've done previously. So phase 1 is how to get started with your marketing. Phase 2 is how to add in email. And then phase 3 is the repurposing side of it. And all of these are without adding people to your business, without hiring, without adding loads of extra time in. So I think that's really valuable for everyone for the rest of this year. And, anyone that's starting up their business and sort of thinks, where on earth do I start? That's like the key thing.
So I've got for those of you that are tuning in via video, the link that is up, or at least that I'm showing, which should also be in the comments, is the YouTube video for which Molly is referring to. So you should be able to click that link, go check it out, watch it in portions if you need to, watch it once, go back, take some notes. I think the biggest thing is just understanding that don't listen to it and then immediately have this immense feeling of, oh my gosh, there's so much I need to do. That's not the point. She's created steps to really break it down, to make it as easy and understandable for those of you that are just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. And it's just me. It's just solo, or, there's 2 of us. So you can check that out. For those of you that are tuning in, via just listening on the podcast, you can find this video. I know you can find it on the LinkedIn platform for STAHLS UK. You can find it on the STAHLS UK YouTube channel. And then, of course, you can always go to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then
all of the platforms.
Like, we will get this link to you. Just tell us how you need it, and we can even shoot it over that way. And then there is a link to where you can download the guide, for which has also been created to help as well.
Yeah, it was a live stream. So on the STAHLS UK YouTube channel, if you just head to the live tab, it's like one of the more recent ones that we've done. But yeah, it's available for the rest of time for anyone. And like Kelly said, it is an hour and 20 minutes long. And it is really digestible. Like, the first step is literally just post once a day and leave it at that. Like, we break it down for you, like, to make it super, super simple. But yeah, I'd highly recommend everyone to use that planner, because it just makes such a difference. From if you do get that feeling of overwhelm, it just makes you go, right, that's all I've got to do today. Like, it's pre-written for you.
David, great question. Can you please put the link in the DM? And that is specifically for LinkedIn. So we will go into the chat and put it on there. Our platform for which we're streaming, I can't do that in the comments, but we can easily go get that done in the LinkedIn platform individually. So Molly, to wrap up, what other, any other tips, any other recommendations, especially for somebody that maybe is solo and feeling like they need to hire somebody? Do you recommend hiring someone? Just, if you don't like that task, toss it off, get started a little bit. That way you can give them a plan. Any progression on that?
I think it really depends where you're at in your business, right? So the How to Marketing Without a Marketing Team presentation that I did is solely focused around how to successfully market your business and scale that marketing for a one-person business, right? So as and when you get to the point where you feel like you need somebody else, you should be well and truly finished with that marketing planner. You should be confidently running your socials, confidently sending out emails. I think when you get to the point where you need to hire somebody, that becomes a bigger conversation as to where you're taking your marketing strategy. Because if you're going to have somebody with all of these extra hours, you're not just using an hour, 2 hours of your week, you're filling in someone else's full-time schedule, right? So I think we need to do a second podcast on how to employ people for your marketing team.
There we go.
Which I think we could easily do. But no, I do think you're right. There will come a point, if you're successful and if you follow all of our tips on marketing and heat printing, you will be, where you will be in a position to hire somebody. And that's the dream, right? If you want to grow your business, you want to be able to hire people so that you can take a step back or continue to grow the business. So yeah, there will come a time where that happens. And I think that's another conversation, to be honest. But there's so much more you can do with marketing that we haven't covered. And if everyone wants to hear that, I mean, we've been more than happy to put together a presentation on the next step as well.
I love that. I think that is great, right? Because at the end of the day, if somebody's goal is to eventually hire out for that, that's a whole, like you said, that's a whole other conversation. And how do you kind of build those plans to set them up for success, and of course continue to keep your business running smoothly. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. And Danielle, a huge thank you for contributing to feedback and other conversation about marketing, and especially socials, as that's a large conversation in marketing today. Patty said,
Oh, I love this comment.
yeah, thank you for sharing your time and experiences. As a one-woman business, it is a challenge to do it all. Yes, Patty, it sure is. And congratulations to you for staying at it and continuing to move forward. So, Molly, thank you so much for your time. And of course, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and an even better rest of the Friday.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me, guys.
See you guys later.